The views expressed on the following broadcast do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guest. Take 12 Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
When the static of life fills your brain and the world seems a little too insane, just twist that dial, don't hesitate. There's a haven where good vibes await. Tune in and Take 12 for some joy and cheer. It's the sound of hope coming in crystal clear. Recovery talk, the music so grand, a beacon of light, a helping hand.
Well, greetings, family. Welcome to another episode of the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show, the world's oldest and original recovery talk and positive music radio station and podcast. Of course, today we have the Make Believe Take 12 Recovery Radio Orchestra. We have some fun and games at the beginning of our show. We're going to take a little quiz. See how many answers we get right. And then we're going to introduce our guest, Robert Carver. Stay strong, stay sober. Let's talk about what that is. It's going to be a good show. Welcome aboard. Our email address is take12radio@comcast.net. Hold on to your recovery horses, because here we go.
Remind you you're not alone where you come from. Tune in and Take 12 for some joy and cheer. It's the sound of hope coming in crystal clear. Recovery talk and music so grand, a beacon of light, a helping hand.
All right, welcome aboard, one and all. I hope you're having a good day. If you're not, you may want to check out why. But you can't not have fun and be on the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show with your headphones on, your car blaring, whatever it is, your iPad pod things sticking it out of your ears. We have a great guy on today. This guy it puts a smile on my face. Robert Carver is my guest. We're gonna talk to him in more detail. We're gonna have some fun at the beginning of the show, though. But if you're watching on YouTube, we're gonna zip the little Lazy Susan camera over there. There's Robert. Hey, Robert.
How's it going?
Hey, buddy. Robert, where are you from?
I live over in Lebanon.
Lebanon. Not Lebanon.
Nope, Lebanon.
Lebanon, right. So we're about 14 miles away, right?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. So without going into much detail yet, what is Stay Strong, Stay Sober?
So Stay Strong, Stay Sober is actually a saying that my dad used to say to me a couple years ago before he passed away. I'd get into some trouble and he'd be like, just remember, stay strong, stay sober. And so that's where that came from.
Yeah. Good deal.
Yep.
Good logo, too. Did you design that?
Yeah, I did. I designed it, all the sayings, everything. I've done it by myself. I got a business in town that helps me do the graphics and stuff. And then my daughter runs my social media and stuff like that. It helps me out.
Well, we're going to be hearing from you here in a minute. Okay. Robert's going to be sharing his experience, strength, and hope, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like today. Let's see here. Let's see if we can cue it up. 1, 2, 3. There it is.
And now, it's the quiz of the week.
That's right.
That's right, everybody. It's time for Take 12 Radio's Quiz of the Week. Now, here's the Muncie Man.
All righty. No weekly wine this week. I'm sure that you're all disappointed in that. So the quiz of the week, it's kind of around food. Okay. So we'll just move the camera over here to Robert. So let's see here. All right. If you get it right, you're going to get the bell. Okay. If you get it wrong, you get the fluff machine. Okay. If you get them all right, you know what you win? Nothing.
That's good.
Absolutely nothing. All right. For those of you who are wondering, what the heck does this have to do with recovery? Listen, if you can't have fun in recovery, you're doing something wrong. So if you're not having fun today, maybe you'll catch a little bit of our fun. What year was the first potato chip invented? Here are your choices. 1853, 1906, or 1912. What do you think, Robert?
1906.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Nah. No, it was 1853. 1853. All right. Which food chain introduced the first drive-through service? Was it McDonald's, Burger King, or Jack in the Box?
I want to say McDonald's.
McDonald's is correct. It was McDonald's. Number 3. What is the main ingredient in cotton candy? What do you think?
Sugar?
Yeah, baby, sugar. One of the most addictive substances on the earth.
Yep.
Majorly bad for you. Okay, which popular candy bar was named after the Mars family's favorite horse? Was it Snickers, Big Hunk, or Charleston Chew?
Snickers?
Snickers is right. Oh, you're doing
guess.
really well. Yeah. Okay. What is the most popular flavor of potato chip in the United States? Here are your choices: salt and vinegar, sour cream, and onions, or barbecue.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is?
Barbecue?
Yeah, barbecue. Good deal. Wow, I'm impressed. All right. What is the world's best-selling cookie? Oreo, Fig Newton, or Nilla wafers?
Oreo.
Yes, indeed. Oreo. What ingredient gives Doritos their signature orange color? Is it red dye number 2, bleached cinnamon, or paprika?
Paprika.
Wow. Robert, you're killing it. Okay, here's your last one. Let's see if we can get it wrong. What is the main ingredient in the filling of these tasty delights? Hostess cupcakes, Twinkies, and Ding Dongs. Oh, and Ho-Hos as well. Do you know what the filling is made of? Any
I
guess?
probably spun, fluffed up sugar.
Wow, you are really close. I'm tempted to give it to you. Heck, I'll give it to you. Yeah, it is whipped animal fat. Think about that the next time you bite into it. It's also what's in Oreo cookies too.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's whipped animal fat. Basically, Crisco oil with sugar in it.
Well, it's good.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, and here's another thing that's kind of interesting. Styrofoam cups are made of whipped animal fat.
Really?
So the next time you take one of those generic styrofoam cups and you pour coffee in it,
Yeah.
watch for the oily surface to form. It'll be
Okay.
kind of a little oily. That's the animal fat pulling away from the styrofoam.
Had no idea.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Wow. So, but yeah, you can't put styrofoam technically in the garbage or recycle, but it's animal fat.
Right. Well, there's other stuff in there too. But yeah, I mean, oh my goodness sakes. Okay, so don't you just feel like a better human being now?
Knowing all that, yeah.
That you know all that
Probably
stuff.
should eat some of that stuff now.
Probably not. All right, that does it for our little quiz, and we'll be back with Robert's story right after this. Don't go away.
Do you ever feel stuck in your recovery? I mean, we all have felt stagnant from time to time. I'd like to introduce you to the book, 12 Essential Insights for Emotional Sobriety, Getting Your Recovery Unstuck, by our good friend and recovery author, Dr. Alan Berger. Dr. Berger has helped to change the lives of thousands of individuals with his work on emotional sobriety, paving a new path to recovery for both the addict and their families. For your autographed copy of 12 Essential Insights for Emotional Sobriety, visit abphd.com. This book is also available on Amazon.
Hey there. If you're one of our listeners tuning in on a major podcasting platform, did you know that you can watch us broadcast this show and all of our episodes on YouTube? That's right. You can see our smiling faces and positive demeanor in the video versions of our broadcasts. simply visit our website at take12radio.com and click on the YouTube icon. And don't forget to subscribe to all of our shows for fun and for free. That's take12radio.com. Just click on the YouTube icon.
Hey, this is Ricky Bird, and you are listening to Monty Man on Take 12 Recovery Radio.
Thank you, Ricky. You'll be hearing, in fact, our closing song this week is Ricky Bird. Okay. Well, his name is Robert Carver, and he is a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, married with children. Robert says, I have struggled with alcohol since age 11 and drugs since I was 13. While I was in my addiction, I was a very angry person. Nothing was my fault. Drinking led to infidelity, pornography, gambling, and a lot of lying to cover up my mistakes. My addiction had ruined my family, and I was losing friends. I was in a deep depression and had suicidal thoughts. April 16th, 2006 was my guest's last drink. His main source of counseling and support has been Celebrate Recovery. Between 2006 and 2004, Robert says his life has been a roller coaster. Robert shares that in early 2020, he started to heal his relationship with his father. But in 2021, his dad suddenly passed away, and that put him into a new depression. But today, Robert is in a better state of mind, and he joins us here on Take 12 Recovery Radio to share what it was like, what happened, and what it's like today. Robert, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, you wanted to come on the show for what reasons?
To kind of get my story out there to more than just the community and the people that I see, and just get it out there and hopefully be a hope for somebody and just be an inspiration for somebody who's just struggling with it and just doesn't think they can make it through.
Yeah. So you started pretty early.
I did.
Right? Alcohol since age 11. What was happening? How did you get introduced to alcohol? Were you sneaking booze? What was going on there?
It might have actually been before 11. So my dad drank quite a bit. And when he'd come home from work, I remember he had this yellow plastic Tupperware glass. And he'd get tea and he'd pour some whiskey or tequila in it. And he'd sit there and sometimes he'd give me a drink and then he'd go to the bathroom. So I'd take a drink.
Yeah.
And then I learned where the stuff was, so I would start taking it. And I was like, man, this makes me feel really good. It didn't take much when I was young.
So what was the allure to it? Were you watching it benefit your dad?
I would remember that, my dad, when he would drink it, he would go from being tired when he got home to being energetic and want to play.
Oh, okay.
And then when he started getting a little bit more, he'd start getting a little bit more angrier. So it's like, oh, yeah, 3 different people that I'm seeing in one night. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a powerful statement right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely different, but I was like, well, I like it, So I remember I would take it and he'd get like playful and I would like take his glass and either go hide it or whatever, or I'd take a drink of it and then we'd start playing and all of a sudden he'd just start getting pretty angry. I was like, I don't like this right now.
So were you okay? You're pretty young. Were you able to manage it well for a while? Or?
Yeah, it was just whenever Dad would have it, or when we'd go out and play outside, and our friends would have some, so we'd drink some at that age.
Was he aware that what you were doing?
I have no idea. Probably.
Yeah.
He probably did.
Yeah, parents know a little more than we think.
Yeah, they do. Yep.
Sure. So we know that alcohol is a drug, but narcotics didn't enter the picture at the same time. That came later.
That came later.
Right?
That came about, I was 13.
So what was going on there?
Influences from older kids and hang out with kids, and it was start off with pot, smoking out of the pop can. And then one day I remember I was about 13. These guys were doing something other than pot, and they were snorting cocaine. And I'm like, what are these guys doing? And they had a lot of energy. So I tried that. And then as the years went on, 14 to 15 into 16, I experimented with some heroin and stuff like I did it one time, couldn't. I was just like, I do not like how this feels.
Yeah.
So I went down to doing a little bit of cocaine and then just stuck on pot for quite a while. Experimented with. There were a couple guys that I knew somehow had meth and they put it in the pot somehow. And we smoked that, and that made me feel really weird. But it was mainly a lot of pot.
Yeah. So this all begs the question. Obviously you had a desire to change the way you were feeling.
Right.
Right. Why?
I liked how it made me feel. Excuse me, because it took away some bad memories, and my dad didn't grow up in the best of a home.
Mm-hmm.
So, you carry on like how you're taught, you carry that on. And so he would do that. And my dad would go through phases where he was very, very verbally abusive, physically abusive sometimes. And I didn't like that. So I would have those memories. And then when I would go have something to drink or get high, like they would go away. Like it would just, I don't have to worry about anything. I like how this makes me feel like I'm not remembering anything at all.
Okay. So it removed you from having to focus on any of that stuff. Yeah. Yep. So you were medicating, self-medicating.
Pretty much, yeah. And at that time, I knew nothing about it. Self-medicating, take away pain.
Sure. You just knew that if A plus B equals C, and you kind of like C, right? Yeah. So when did it bite you? What happened? Was there an incident or?
I want to say, so I was about 17. I was drinking and smoking weed at the same time. I stole my buddy's uncle's car. We did it to go meet a girl. We stole a car. We got busted. And the sheriff came and got me. And he knew my dad. And he's like, well, you got choices. I can either take you to jail or I can take you home. And I begged him to take me to jail instead of taking me to my dad. He took me home. Woke my dad up at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And that was not a very good time in my life right there. Actually, I think I was 16. I didn't get my license until I was like 17. That was part of my punishment. And, but really, honestly, that didn't change anything. I just kept going harder and harder, drinking, smoking. I was drinking at school, smoking weed at school. Meanwhile, I was still doing sports, wrestling and football. I was still maintaining grades enough to do sports. I would drink or smoke before school. I would do it before practices, after school.
Mm-hmm.
And home life wasn't the greatest at the time. There was a lot of problems going on at home.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, I kind of figured out this whole self-medication thing and, it's taking this away. Yeah. And that time it was getting bad. I was sneaking out all the time. My dad knew it was happening. I just did it.
Yeah. So was there ever well, obviously there was, where you kind of sat back and said, this is getting away from me and maybe I've gone a little too far? I mean,
yeah, I had my last drink, I think I was 26. And it was my wife who told me it's either the alcohol and the drugs,
mm-hmm.
or it's me and the kids.
Mm.
And I chose my wife and kids at the time. It was pretty bad. Something was said that set me off the edge, and I left the house, went to a bar. She sent people out looking for me. They couldn't find me, and I finally showed back home. But
had you been alcohol and drug free for a little while?
No.
Because you chose the wife and kids, you said.
I did. I had been drinking the whole time.
Okay. So in your head, you're choosing the wife and kids, but you're not sobering up yet.
Not yet.
Gotcha. So you're out and she's looking for you.
Yep. When I came home, that's when she was like, you have a choice to make.
Okay.
And I chose them. And that was really my rock bottom. It had been, I think in 2001, maybe 2, I tried to stop drinking for a while. Back when we had moved to Indiana, we had a lot of issues back there with my drinking and stuff like that. And just some stuff I don't want to get into right now. But then we came back out here and I tried to sober up. I just couldn't do it. It's an addiction. To me, it's a disease, addiction, and it made me feel good. And it took away a lot of pain. And I tried to sober up. I couldn't do it. And I think what it took was for me to hit that rock bottom for my wife to say, this is what
To
needs to
confront
happen.
you like that. So when you say you tried to sober up, what were some of the ways that you tried to sober up?
I didn't go to meetings. Oh, I did go. I started going to Celebrate Recovery out in Tangent. But I was still drinking and smoking pot then. Up to 2006. So I was going out there and I thought I was doing pretty good, but then I would get frustrated. So I'd go have a drink. And then I got hooked on some pain pills. So I would just be like, if I can't get the alcohol, I have pain pills. So I would take the pain pills and it just put me in a different state of mind.
Sure.
I never really, I was just going to Celebrate Recovery mainly just because I'm going to a meeting and I show my wife I'm going to try to quit. But
Okay.
I
So
was
you
still
were one of those, well, I'll just go to the meetings.
right.
And so I'm guessing you probably weren't doing the work. You were just
Nope.
going to meetings.
I was going to the meetings, wasn't doing the work.
So that would beg the question, do people that just go to meetings, do they succeed?
For me, no. I
Yeah.
don't. I mean, some people may say, hey, that's the wrong answer. Yes, they do, but you can't succeed unless you're doing the steps.
Yeah.
And you're getting the help that you need and the people to help you do that. For me, it was just, I'm going to the meeting to make it look like I'm trying to quit, but I wasn't.
Probably from your experience, my experience, and the people that we all know, the circles we travel in, would probably agree that if a person does succeed simply by drinking bad coffee and talking about their day, they may not be an addict or an alcoholic. They may just need a swift kick in the butt, right?
Right.
And that's a different animal than you and I.
That is.
Yeah. So you came to a place where you knew that you were left to your own devices, you were powerless, you were in
Right.
trouble, right?
Yes.
And the disease of addiction was now, the tail was wagging the dog.
Yeah.
Right?
It was hitting it pretty hard.
So what happened? I mean, was there a shift where you decided that I've got to do more than just attend meetings?
Yeah. So it was in April. It was before we got married. And my wife had also told me, she's like, I'm not going to marry you until you straighten out your life. And we ended up getting married in June of 2006, but I quit drinking in April, quit drinking and smoking and all that stuff all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was her saying it's either me and the kids or your addiction. And what it really was that night, I remember, man, I really don't want to lose her and I don't want to lose my kids.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep very good. I mean, going through the detox and stuff, like I didn't go to a facility or anything. I did it all on my own. I was
Wow.
like, I can't, because
That's rough.
I couldn't really afford it. And I didn't want to put my wife through that of me being gone and all this money, try to get me clean and sober. So I did it on my own. I was not pleasant to be around at all. She can tell you that.
So you white knuckled it right
I did.
through your detoxing and everything. Yeah. It can be done.
It can be done. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
I also had help from one of my cousins. You actually know him. His name is Wayne.
Wayne.
His last name now is Carson, but it was, you think about him?
I know a couple of Waynes.
Yeah, he told me to give you a big hug when I saw you.
Okay, Wayne. Well, we'll talk on the air.
He was a big support for me too. And, when I was struggling, I'd call him like, dude, I don't know what to do. He'd come pick me up and he'd take me to a meeting. We'd go to the meetings in the Sweet Home. We'd go to a couple over in Albany. And I had some good support, but I was white knuckling it, and I was white knuckling it hard. It was, but I would sit back and like, if I lose my wife and kids, what do I have?
Yeah.
I have alcohol and drugs. Well, where am I going to be? If I keep going down this road, I'm going to end up on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to end up dead. Something's going to happen. And it was the fear of losing her and my kids at the time.
So, in the literature, in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, anyway, there is a reference to some people, and it's talking about alcoholism, not necessarily narcotic addiction, but it's talking about how some people, if they have a good enough reason, they're able to stop for a time.
Right.
Or they may be able to stop all together. They may not be alcoholic, But there may be different levels of that, and so you had a good enough reason. But I think, knowing you, I think that was the thing that kickstarted the whole thing of sobriety. But you were powerless, and so there something came alongside you and helped you even in your detox, probably without you even realizing it at the time. Do you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
I do. And I am a religious man, and I struggle with some stuff right now. But I had a lot of people praying for me at the time.
So power of prayer is on your side.
Power of prayer was on my side at the time. My wife's grandma was very religious, and she kept telling my wife, like, he's going to change. He will change. And
the grandmas as well. Yeah, grandma. You go, grandma.
She would pray all the time for me. My grandma on my side, my grandma, my aunt and uncle, they were they're Pentecostal preachers up in Onsville and stuff like that, up in Portland, and she was always praying for me. Like, my whole family was just praying for me because they knew I was in it pretty deep, and they knew there was a different side of me. There was a good person inside of me, but the alcohol and the drugs was just holding that person back.
Right.
So there was something else going on that wasn't me. It was power of prayer at the time.
Did you? I mean, you have relatives that are, believers in God. Right. Were you
at the time? Yes and no. I'm gonna say yes and no. During that time, so. I was in a time in my life where I was upset at God over some deaths in the family.
Okay.
We lived back in Wisconsin, Indiana, and we came back here to be with my dad's mom, my grandma, and then she died. And then my grandpa died right after that.
Wow.
So why am I here? I came out here for them. God, why did you take them away from me? Because, when I was struggling, she was always there for me. And there were a lot of times where I was like not drinking all the time because of her, because I was always doing something with her. Well, her rule was, you're not going to drink, you're not going to get high if we're going to go do something. So I was always doing stuff with her, whether it was camping, fishing, going to spend time with her. I had to be clean and sober when I was, I had that, and then she died. So I was mad at God at the time for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listeners, we're talking to Robert Carver. He's sharing his experience, strength, and hope. Stay strong, stay sober. We'll talk about that here in a couple of minutes. Okay, so you and your best thinking and your best planning, you guys move out here. You get this big disappointment with two deaths back to back in your family. Kind of same kind of thing, right? With Dad. I mean, you guys started mending relationship, and then bam.
Yes, this one's pretty hard. My dad and I were very alike. So when two people are alike, they just butt.
Oh, sure they do. Yeah. I've got one son like that. Yeah.
My dad was very independent, very. This is how I'm gonna do it. This is my family. This is how I'm gonna do my family. But then my dad started kind of overstepping the boundaries at the time, stepping in and like, no, that's my grandkids. I'm going to do what I want with my grandkids. Well, that didn't settle right with me.
Sure.
My dad was there's a side. So for the listeners out there that knew my dad, you guys saw a side of my dad that I wanted to see. And my dad had that, but not all the time. So there's a side that a lot of people didn't see that they're probably going to hear. And I don't want them to go judge my dad because of that, because my dad had his own demons, his own battles that he was dealing with also at the same time.
As we all do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like I was kind of his biggest target because I was the only one that fought back. I was the only one that when he would do something, I'd put it right back in his face of, well, you did this. So why is it,
Because you and your pa are the same guy, right? You're the same guy.
Yeah. So we had good times and we had bad times. We had knockdown punching fights,
Really? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
In the middle of the living room, the kitchen, kicking each other. Like, it was pretty bad.
Boys.
Yeah. My mom never stepped in. She was just like, because I don't know why, she just kind of really didn't step in. She just yelled, but she wouldn't separate us.
Yeah.
But my dad didn't have the best life growing up. So we had quite the relationship that was not very good.
Yeah.
Then, going through recovery, and a lot of stuff happened with me and my wife during the time. My wife, my kids, my daughter, they had wrote me some letters and stuff, and I had to make some decisions. And I had to make some amends. And I was like, if I don't do this, I'm never going to fix this relationship with my dad, because he's not going to step up and do it. I mean, he tried, but it was more of, hey, I'm sorry, not hey, let's talk about this. I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for that. It was just, I'm sorry. I took the step of, Dad, we need to talk. This is what hurt me. This is what bothered me. And this is what drove me to doing this. And all that. So we fixed that relationship. He cried on the phone, apologized to me for everything.
Wow.
He did. He started naming off some stuff, and he's like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know really what to do. I never really had a solid love from a father. And he's like, I'm doing the best I could. I was like, well, so am I, but I'm trying to change it for my kids.
Yeah.
So we fixed that relationship. We started spending more time together. And the first time I gave my testimony at Southside Church over in Lebanon through CR, my dad showed up.
Really?
My dad showed up. He sat right in the front row. And a big part of it was about him and my life growing up together.
Yeah.
And he was there. So he got to see that. So that was really cool.
What a gift, bro.
Yeah. My wife, all three of my kids were there, and my dad.
Wow.
And it was a packed house. Like, so Danny Callahan came.
Yeah.
Like, he brought a bunch of people, and it was there.
Little Danny.
Yeah. There was a lot of people there that, that knew a lot about my story and had a lot of prayer that day too. And to have my dad there, that was pretty special. And then we just kicked it off from there and tried to make up for some time. And then May of 21, he died.
What was that? That was unexpected?
Very unexpected.
Okay. He wasn't sick that you knew of or anything, or?
He had some heart issues, but honestly, some people don't like the topic, but it was COVID that killed him. They put him in the hospital and put him on a ventilator. I wish things would have been done differently. My mom and my brother were both in a nursing home because my brother just had back surgery. My mom had fallen and hit her head. So
this is during COVID, all during COVID.
All at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had gotten sick with COVID in end of April. I had gotten better. My dad came and saw me on my birthday, May 11th. I had just gotten over it. And then my dad had an appointment to go get the COVID shot on May 16th. It was about May 17th or 18th. My dad called me. It was a Wednesday. I was actually helping with the youth service out at Southside. And he called me and said, hey, can you bring me some milk and bread? And I was like, yeah, I'll bring it over. And it got really late. I said, I'll bring it over in the morning. Next thing I know, he's calling me from the hospital.
My goodness.
He's in the hospital because he couldn't breathe because he had bronchitis and pneumonia really bad.
Yeah.
So he went in probably, I want to say like 18th or something like that. I got those dates are kind of mixed up. He was in for a couple of days. I talked to him. They wouldn't let me see him. But I talked to him on the phone a couple of times. And then I got a phone call from him that said, I love you, son. I'm going on a ventilator. And that was the last time I talked to my dad.
Wow.
Meanwhile, my mom and my brother are in the nursing home across the street from the hospital.
Wow.
So I had made...
And you can't go in to see anybody because
No.
they blocked everybody off from that, right?
I couldn't go in and see him. I could go to the hospital and see him, but he was behind a glass door on a ventilator. So I went to... I was actually out... and there's another part of the story too, but I was actually out working on my race car when I got the call from the Lebanon hospital. My dad actually bought that car for me. And there's a whole story with that of why he bought that. And that's where Stay Strong, Stay Sober came from. It's to come in and do a family meeting. And they're like, don't have the ability to take care of him here. We're going to send him to Corvallis. So they sent him to Corvallis like the 20th or 21st. And then he passed away on the 31st.
Okay.
You know, that was a hard time. My mom and brother, again, in the nursing home. My wife and my kids were in Eastern Oregon with her best friend, her best friend over there. I'm by myself. I get a phone call from the hospital. You need to come see your dad. The doctor called me. And I was like, is my dad going to die? He goes, we need you to come to the hospital. So I'm like freaking out. I'm crying. I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I had called the pastor at Southside, Jamie, and I need a ride to the hospital. And he came and picked me up at 10 o'clock at night. And he sat with me till about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And then my aunt showed up. And I made the decision to end my dad's life. Because they had told me that, I said, can he make it through this? They said, yeah, we can make it through it, but it's going to be a while and he's going to have a lung transplant. Okay, so what happens? Well, then we're going to have to send him to Washington for at least a year. He doesn't want to do that.
You knew your dad wouldn't be wanting to go down that road.
And this is God's honest truth. If I would have if they would have unsedated him, take the ventilator out, wake him up, and I would have told him that, he would have been like, take me home.
Yeah.
And I can tell you what he was going to do. I guarantee you my dad would have gotten his truck and he would have went to the mountains and I would never see my dad again.
He more than likely, if they took him off the ventilator and all that stuff, he probably wouldn't have made it through it anyway.
No.
Right? So I'm with you, brother, because we just had, Marsha and I just had to make a decision for a fellow 12-stepper that we've known for years and years, and my wife's been helping take care of him, and he ended up in the hospital, not on a ventilator, but they said, well, they couldn't even put him on one, because he was so sick. And they told us, look, we can take the oxygen mask off. He might pop out of this thing. Chances are he probably won't. Not what you would want. What do you think he would want? And we knew what he would want, and we had to say goodbye. It's kind of an ominous place to be, isn't it? You're the decision maker, and is it numbing at the time?
Yes, very. It was very. Man, it's a hard one to kind of explain. It's a weird feeling that
is.
I don't want to experience again, but I know I might have to at some point in my life.
Yeah.
It was more of, all right, you have to make the decision. What is going to be best for your dad? And whatever decision you make, that's what he's going to want.
Yeah.
And I knew that he was not going to want to live a life where he was having to be taken care of 24/7.
Did you stay sober?
I did.
Wow.
Through the whole thing.
Wow.
I did.
It can be done.
It can be done. Definitely, it is hard. I didn't think about drinking at all. I was just like, man, I need something to take this pain away.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got to that point, I was like, I looked at Jamie. I was like, I need you to pray. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Then my aunt showed up with my niece, and they were just there with me the whole time. And definitely something I don't wish on anybody.
Sure.
Because that's a hard decision to make.
Really, really hard.
It is, but I know I made the right decision because I know that, like I said, he did not want to be taken care of 24/7. That was not him.
Your dad is amazingly proud of you.
Thank you.
So you got, a lot of people don't get the opportunity to have a healing take place.
Right.
Between them and the loved one that they have a rift with, right?
Yeah.
So an amazing gift,
Yep.
that you had. So I want us to talk about Stay Strong, Stay Sober here. I'm going to let you lead us into what that's all about.
Mm-hmm.
But before we do that, how are you doing? I mean, this has been a few years now, right? How is Robert doing with Robert right now? Honestly.
So when it comes to my dad, I have days where I'm doing great, but then I might get emotional a little bit.
It's okay.
My dad tried to have a relationship with my kids that he didn't have with me, and he loved his grandkids.
Yeah.
And so my son took it really hard, but my son actually has my dad's military flag. He has his urn. He has a whole thing set up for my dad. And my dad was a hunter, and he had bought my son a rifle for hunting, and he has this whole thing set up for him. And that was their thing, is they love to talk about hunting and fishing all the time. And seeing him go through some of the pain really hurts.
Yeah.
My youngest daughter, she really misses my dad, and she's made a couple TikTok videos and stuff about missing grandpa and wish you could see me now and stuff like that. So that stuff really, really kills me, because it's like, man, I wish he was. I just made a post the other day about it on Facebook. Like, you know, it really kills me knowing that my kids are really wanting to have their grandpa see them succeed in life and where they are right now. But
so you hurt for them.
yes, I do.
Yeah.
And it's very painful. It's like, it's just a deep, deep hurt pain. And I love seeing how they feel about their grandpa, but man, it hurts. It really does. But you know, it's a cycle of life that we go through, and it does happen. Yeah, it's so that hurts really bad. I have days where it's like, man, I wish my dad was here right now, because I don't know what to do in this situation. So, you know, I'll sit back and be like, man, Dad, what do I do right here? And then I'll just sit and I'll think about a few things. Like, that's not something I would think of, but okay, let's try it. You know? Like,
So I'm with you. See that picture right there?
yeah,
That's my pa.
nice.
That's my dad. He was my hero, but I didn't know it till after he passed away.
Right.
I didn't appreciate him until
Yeah.
after he passed away. So I do the same thing. Often I'll just look over and go, what am I supposed to do? Dad, what would you do? And I already know, but you know,
It's like
some people think that's creepy. I don't think it's creepy. I think it's perfectly natural, you know.
Yeah.
And I look at him and I'm going, okay, okay, I know what to do.
So, but basically, as far as how I'm doing, Robert doing,
Yeah, how's Robert doing?
I have days to where I'm really mad at God.
Okay, let's preface this for a minute, because I want the listeners to understand something. When we're talking about 12-step based, recovery based, faith based podcasts, radio programs, and presentations, much of the time, what we're encouraged to share is less of the message. I mean, less of the mess and more of the message.
Right.
Less of the mess, more of the message. You can't have a message without the mess. We get that, and so we're told, you know, as people don't want to hear this huge big mess piece. They want to hear the message, the good stuff, and all that. All they get, but I don't know how real that is a lot of times. I think there are still times when in our sobriety, even though we've had a spiritual awakening as a result of the steps, even though we're walking with God, even though we have a belief system in this power greater than us, we're still screwed up and we're still a mess. Yeah. And we're struggling. I think people need to hear
So do I.
that we're still going through pain. Is there still victory? Is there still an answer? Yes. But doggone it, I am really, really struggling here. Mm-hmm. So I say that because I want people to understand this particular interview isn't necessarily all fuzzy and warm and unicorns and rainbows.
Right.
So go ahead.
So to touch on that, you know, being mad at God, upset at God is why did somebody who wasn't in such bad health be taken away from me? Mm-hmm. Somebody that I just fixed a relationship with, that I wanted to have years and years and years with, of that good relationship. You know, and I tried doing, you know, Bible studies and going, I would meet every week and I'd read the Bible and I'd go through that. And I'm still kind of in that place.
The why place, right?
The why place. Yeah. To be honest, I'm still kind of there. You know, and it's more of, you know, I sometimes see people grieving. I'm like, man, just get over it. That's the wrong thing for me to say. And if I've ever told anybody that, I apologize for that because I'm dealing with that right now.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a hard spot to be in. A lot of people don't like to share that they're hurting and struggling, but I am. And
Because we're not supposed to.
right. That's what they put out there. You're not supposed to. But I am, and I'm gonna admit it, and I'm struggling pretty bad with a lot of questions and the way things went down and questioning and stuff like that. There's other issues that have put me in that spot that I think at a later time down the road I might share some of that stuff.
Okay.
But it all blends together of what is going on. You know, and they say, well, you go through these trials, it makes you stronger. Well, when am I going to get to that point? You know, and I know that I need to maybe just sit back and listen to God a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I have this wall up, and right now it's not being broke down. I've got, I guess I'm trying to do it on my own, and that's not something we're supposed to do. And I know that, but
Try to do what on your own?
try to
Believe? Have faith?
believe, have faith, and need the help and try to make it through this, because part of recovery is there's also, you know, in recovery is grieving. You got to get some help for this grieving and stuff too.
Right, because we even grieve over our addictions. We even
right.
we grieve over the cigarettes
Yeah.
we smoked. We grieve
Yeah.
over the bottle. I mean, it was our friends, right?
Right.
And then we said goodbye to them.
Yeah. So I am admitting that I have this wall up that I guess I'm not ready to break it down yet. And I'm really stuck at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's weird because it bothers me, because I know the good things that when I gave everything up and relied on God, a lot of things changed in my life. But then I started questioning things like, is it really that, or is it just my mindset has changed? And I, you know,
Yeah.
so I'm at this point of questioning,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't like to talk about it. And I'm going to admit I'm at this questioning point of, is it my faith? Is it God? Or is it, I've changed my mindset? And that's a battle that I'm struggling with right now today. I think part of that, having that battle, is what's keeping that wall up and making me struggle a little bit pretty hard with dealing with my dad's stuff, dealing with some of the stuff, you know, personal stuff inside our family and stuff like that. So, but I do have to say, over the last year, there's been a lot of changes in my life.
Mm-hmm.
There's been, when I say changes, I mean like drastic changes in my life with my marriage, my kids.
In a good way?
In a good way.
Okay.
In a good way. My job, I had quit my job after 14 years to go to a different job. I needed a change. I had some stuff going on in my other job, and I needed to have a change. So far, that's actually been fairly good for me, because I'm getting more time I get more days off. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And my wife and I have changed a lot of stuff in our relationship, the way that we do things. You know, I'm putting her first in my life instead of, you know, well, I'm going to do this because it's going to benefit me. I put my wife first now. And there for a while I wasn't. And I know for a guy to admit that, that's pretty hard.
Yeah, it is.
It is. You know,
Because we're right, man.
yeah. And
Oh my gosh.
we've had some help getting to that point too. And our marriage was going down, like downhill. And my wife says to me all the time, what would my grandma think what you're doing right now? Her grandma's the only one that had her grandma's the only one that had the faith in me during the time that, you know, things would change and that I'd be a good person. And
Let me ask you a really personal question.
go for it.
And you don't have to answer it if you don't want to.
Okay.
Okay. Are you being as honest with your wife as you are being with me and the listeners right now?
Yep. She knows everything.
Good deal.
Everything that I tell you that
Good
I'm
deal.
talking about, she knows. I've admitted to her, like, I'm working on making you first. Yep.
Yeah. So you're being honest with her when you tell her you're mad at God right today.
Yep. She knows it.
And maybe don't even believe today.
Right.
Right.
She does know it, and that's one of the things. She's like, I'm gonna tell my grandma that you're mad at God right now. She knows. She has a walk with God.
Yeah.
That she's very quiet about it, which, everybody has their own different way.
Yeah,
to walk
you
with
bet.
God.
Yeah.
But she knows.
Yeah.
Everything that I'm talking about today is the truth, and I'm putting it out there. It's out there on the internet, so it's got to be true, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but this is honesty. This is honesty right here.
So we got about 10 minutes left.
Okay. Stay strong, stay sober.
Stay strong, stay sober. So let me just tell you though, from my observation today.
Okay.
Okay. And I don't know you real well, but I feel like I've gotten to know you way more in just a few minutes you've been here. So my observation today is, because you made a statement, I'm trying to do it by myself, which when you said that, to me, that was an admission that you were doing it probably not in the best way, that you know better.
Right.
You know better. But here's the good news. I don't think you're doing it by yourself. I think you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But you wouldn't come on this show and share your pain if you were doing it by yourself. You'd hide in your house.
Right.
If you were doing it by yourself, you wouldn't be doing Stay Strong, Stay Sober.
Right.
If you were doing it by yourself, you wouldn't be questioning God. You just wouldn't have anything to do with him, period.
Right.
God's got big shoulders. He can handle it. He loves you despite your. We all question him at times. I mean, sometimes I sit back and think, what if this whole Bible thing and everything was just one big practical joke? And then I feel guilty for thinking that way.
Yeah.
And I think God's probably just cracking up going, I get it. He gets us, man. He really, really does. So I think you're doing better than you give yourself credit for.
Thank you.
So just know that. Stay strong, stay sober. What's that all about?
So this kind of has to go to deal with this is with my dad.
Yeah.
And my dad, we got to a point a few years ago, it was about 2019, I think it was.
Yeah.
I was going through a rough time, and I had told my dad, I said, Dad, sometimes I just feel like I want to have a beer. And he goes, you need to stay strong, stay sober.
Mm.
And then he started telling me that. And I'm like, that's pretty good. So my dad and I would, and this is how all this Stay Strong, Stay Sober racing and stuff came about, is we would go out to the races at Willamette Speedway. And
but you're really into that.
Yeah,
stuff,
I am
right?
now. So that's where we're going, is how this is getting out.
Okay.
And he's like, man, I wish I could get a Camaro. I'm like, Dad, I'd love to have one. He goes, I can't drive. I said, I'll do it for you. So we just kept going and going and going. And all of a sudden he's like, I think I want to buy a car. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, let's get a dirt track car. Let's get a Camaro. Okay. And he's like, I want it so that if you have somebody that is struggling, you can say, hey, let's go work on this car. He goes, I don't care if it goes on the track. Help them stay sober. Help them stay strong. Help them stay sober. I'm like, that's a really good idea.
That is a really good idea.
Yeah. So I ended up getting it, and man, the car sat for a year because I would work on it. And I met a really good friend of mine out there at Willamette Speedway, a good friend of mine named Ronnie, and we were really good friends today. And we just started working on a few cars, and it did its job. So I put it on my car. I had Celebrate Recovery on it. I put that on my car. I put a Bible verse on my car. And then I have people all the time when we're traveling around racing. What does that mean?
Right.
So I get to share my story. And they're like, that's awesome. I've got 30 days clean. I'm like, cool. I'm proud of you. And then I'll see him again. He's like, I've got 3 months clean. I'm like, man, that's awesome. And one guy's like, I got it because I got clean because I saw your car and I heard your story. So that one person right there is, I was like, man, this is all worth it. So anytime we go out traveling and racing, last year I traveled Southern Oregon, around Oregon. I get to share my story because somebody's like, what does Stay Strong, Stay Sober mean? And that's all it takes is, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I get to share my story.
Yeah.
And it's just, a little bit of the story. And the one guy stopped and he talked to me for an hour about being sobriety. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. You know, and I have a great support system. Of course, like I said, you know, I got my daughter who helps me out, and I got some good friends. And I have a racing family that they support me all the time. Like, you know, they like to party, they have fun. And that's fine. You can control it. I can't. I cannot control my alcohol. And
because the racing industry, whether it's bang 'em up, beat 'em up cars, or whether it's, you know, stuff that are millions of dollars, that, you know, the racing industry has its fair share of, you know, flowing beer.
Yeah. So, you know, I got a good support system. And if I call them and say, hey, you know, some of them showed up for the prez, like, hey, last minute, I'm going to do the prez. You guys want to help? And they showed up. We did the
Strawberry Festival?
Strawberry Festival.
Yeah.
We did the Lebanon Christmas lighting parade. They showed up.
Wow.
They wear my shirts. They buy my shirts, my sweatshirts, my hats. They support it.
Which, by the way, and I'm going to put the link up here.
Yeah, staystrongstaysober.com. I've got shirts and sweatshirts. I don't have any hats on there right now because we're redesigning some hats, so we're doing some new hats. But you can buy some shirts and sweatshirts on there.
And does this money does some of this go to Stay Strong, Stay Sober?
It all goes back into paying for apparel or helping fund to be able to travel around and race. It all goes towards that. I don't use it for any personal stuff. I use it for shirts or to be able to do that to help pay for fuel so I can get around and
to go race and share your story.
Share my story. And every time, even here at Willamette Speedway in Lebanon, I'm there quite a bit. Somebody comes and asks me about it. Usually it's somebody new. They're like, man, we saw your car out there. It had that on it. What does that mean? And they come and talk to me about it.
Dude, that's huge.
Yeah,
brother. That's huge.
It is.
We got to get out of it. We got to get out of the church building. We got to get out of the 12-step meeting hall. We got to get out and be about living in the go. My good friend Tom Williams, CEO of Came to Believe Recovery. A term he came up with. We got to live in the go. We need to go, right? Yeah. And that's what you're doing. You're going and you're sharing this stuff, even in the midst of your struggles.
Yeah.
So you ain't doing it alone, brother.
Yeah, I know.
Surprise.
Yeah. So it's I love it, you know. I get to meet so many people.
I bet you do.
And you know, it's more of, I look at it like, you know, I'm making a brand, shirts, sweatshirts, hats, because people in recovery, they don't have a lot of stuff to put it out there. To like, hey, you know, so
wait for a convention to happen or something like that.
So now they can just go to the website, staystrongstaysober.com, and buy a shirt or a hat or sweatshirt, and they can wear it, and then people are going to ask them, what does that mean? And then they get to share their story.
Yeah.
And help another person, and stuff like that. So it's, you know, my ultimate plan is, that I have is, man, I hope this thing just takes off and I get to travel around in other states and share my story and stuff like that. If that happens, great. If not, then my message is getting out because of a shirt that somebody has, or somebody sees it while I'm driving down the road and looks it up, or, you know, asks questions.
If one person's life is saved, it's worth it.
Yeah, it is.
Right. But more than one person is going to be affected. You can guarantee that. So the website is Stay Strong, Stay Sober. It's linked up here at Take 12 Recovery Radio listeners. My guest is Robert Carver from StayStrongStaySober.com. How can people get a hold of you? Can they contact you through your email if they want to maybe contribute a little more than just apparel?
Yeah. So I have an email, staystrongstaysober@gmail.com.
Okay.
We have a Stay Strong, Stay Sober Facebook page, Stay Strong, Stay Sober Facebook group. And then you can look me up on Facebook, just Robert Carver. I'll add you as a friend. We can talk on there. My picture is Stay Strong, Stay Sober.
Yeah.
I have Stay Strong, Stay Sober Racing. So I got we got Instagram. So you can just type it in and find it on there. So yeah, that's how you can get a hold of me. You know, my number's out there. I got business cards that I actually made out of some aluminum. They're engraved and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
So, my numbers are on there. You can reach me on, you know, through email or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, always open to talk. If it's something I can help you with, I got resources I can connect you with people and stuff like that.
So you're active in CR still?
I have not been in quite a while.
Okay.
But, you know, I haven't been to see our church in a while.
So Southside?
Yep.
Okay.
But Celebrate Recovery is really where I got sober at, cleaned up. It's a great program.
So it's not like you're not doing it. You're actually helping other people by doing the Stay Strong, Stay Sober thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's a big piece in staying recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, is helping other people and reaching out to other people. So Lord bless you. We're out of time. Closing thoughts from you.
I would just like to say, if you're out there struggling, there's always somebody that has an open ear for you. Don't ever be afraid to call someone and say, hey, I don't want to drink, but I got a bottle sitting in front of me. What do I do?
Yeah.
If that person really, truly cares about you, they're going to show up. They're going to show up.
Without any shame.
Without any shame. Yep. There's no questions asked. I've done it.
Yep.
And, other people will do it for you.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah. Proud of you.
Thanks.
So interestingly enough, and I don't plan these things. I just, I don't know, the good Lord, I'm glad he's God and I'm not. Ricky Byrd, our friend Ricky Byrd, who is from Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, wrote a song called Broken is a Place. And you know that, right?
Yep.
It is an actual place. It's not in our imagination. And it's not something that we just necessarily get over, right? It's an actual place. But there is victory and there is hope and there is all that stuff. But man, there's pain too, and that's just part of life. So I just commend you for coming on the show, sharing your experience, strength, and hope, and being real.
Yeah,
and being real.
Look forward to being back, and we got some good stuff planned for the future. So
yeah. So let's keep in touch and maybe bring you back on at some point and find out what's going on with Stay Strong, Stay Sober. And,
yeah, sounds good.
Okay? All right. My guest has been Robert Carver, and I want you to visit the website, listeners, staystrongstaysober.com. You can email Robert at staystrongstaysober@gmail.com. Our closing song is, as I said, Broken is a Place. Here's Ricky.
The things I did to just not feel the pain, like drinking myself slowly down the drain. Anything to fix me quick, getting high is what made me tick. I couldn't quit. I never thought that I would see the day I'd hit my knees and I would start to pray. Suddenly I felt the spark that picked me up and led me from the dark. Could it be God? Tired of hurting, tired of all the bridges burning. Surrender was the only way to win. When I let go, my wildest dreams were out there waiting. I won't go back, life is on the mend. Broken is a place I've already been. I got here with every wrong turn that I took. Mistakes I made, read like an open book. I'm a different man today, but I know trouble's just one drink away. Here comes the pain. Tired of hurting, tired of all the bridges burning. Surrender was When I let go, my wildest dreams were out there waiting. I won't go back, life is on the mend. Broken is a place I've already been. I've already been. Broke down and busted, already been. The man I don't wanna be. No, no. I'm tired of hurting, tired of all the bridges burning. Surrender was the only way to win. When I let go, my wildest dreams were out there waiting. I won't go back, life is on the mend. Broken is a place I've already been.
Special thank you to our guest this week, Robert Carver of StayStrongStaySober.com. Please visit the website, give him your support. And if you are going through pain and you need someone to reach out to, Robert's your guy. This is how we do this stuff, folks, is another person helping another person helping another person. And especially if you like going really fast in cars, race cars. And just give Robert give him an email, let him know that you're, thinking of him. And as he's going through some tough times right now, as we all take turns doing. So our prayers go with you, brother. Thank you so much for being on the show. Listen, Broken is a place we've already been. Sometimes we revisit it, but we don't have to do it alone. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man along with the rest of the Take 12 Recovery Radio family. And we are wishing God's perfect serenity for you.
Don't let the weights of the past keep you down. There's a melody here to turn it around. In each story and song you'll find a friend, a chorus of courage that'll never end.
This has been a broadcast of Take 12 Recovery Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Kitty.
This has been a Chicken and a Pig production.